Welcome everyone to another reverse sweep round 11, and in this one we're getting to talk about dynasties, and in particular the OpTic Dynasty: Karma, Crim, Scump and Formal. Coming together for the UMG California in 2015 throughout the AW season, this roster went on to win 12 major championships, not including any invitational, and more than 70% of all the maps that they ever played. Their strongest mode was Uplink, with them winning over 77% of all the games they played in this mode. Therefore, it's no surprise they did take that ring in IW, considering how dominant they were at it. Their weakest, well, no surprise to any Green Wall fans, that will be Search and Destroy, with them not even managing to win 2 in 3 consistently. Really was a mode that kind of took away a lot of their strengths in those respawn sides. Their average placing as a roster across all of their events was 3.75, a quite truly ridiculous statistic, and their highest player from a KD perspective, from an average KD, would be Formal with a 1.18. And although you're going to see that Formal didn't necessarily lead a lot of the years, that IW season was where he truly stood out as a top tier individual. Looking into AW then, and the game where it all began, where they did come together as a squad, and here they do win 4 out of 7 possible trophies, with the other 3 tournaments being second places, and those wins were at California, the place where they all came together, Stage 2, DC, and then MLG Worlds. They won just shy of 75% of every single map that they played, and they only lost 1 capture the flag match in that entire time. They did only play 9, but they still only lost 1, which is quite simply insanity. And then Scump is your best player when you're talking about KD with a 1.18. Over to Black Ops 3 then. They take home another 4 trophies out of a possible 7. Those trophies being Stage 1, Orlando, Anaheim, as well as the ESWC tournament. Despite taking home 4 out of 7 trophies again as a roster, their average position was actually 4th, as in the other 3 they finished top 8, definitely far away from where they would want to be, showing how one minute they could be completely dominant and the next minute not so much as a roster in this game. They won 72% of all the maps they played, and quite unbelievably won 86% of all of the hard points that they played, losing just 5. I didn't believe this statistic at first and spent a lot of time going and checking back all the games that they played, and honestly, their ability to see out hard points made them such a formidable force. And as for their top player, well, that was Scump again. Moving over to the year then that every Green Wall member, every OpTic fan wants to talk about and reminisce around, and that is Infinite Warfare. They take home 4 trophies here, and that was Paris, Dallas, Stage 2, and then obviously Champs, when they take home that coveted ring and really sealed themselves as that Dynasty side. In this game, they only go on to win 4 out of 8 trophies. However, their average position was 3rd, because even when they didn't win, this time at least, they were much more competitive. They were still involved in those high-end Sunday matches. From a map perspective, this was their 2nd most dominant year, and this was where they took home 73% of all maps, and their strongest mode was actually Search and Destroy, just to show how important it is that the year in which they won Champs, the year in which they sealed that ring, is the only year where they are over 65% as a roster when it comes to S&D, and it was actually their best mode throughout the entire year. And as for individual players, I don't think it will come to anyone's surprise that Formal was the highest KD player on this roster with a ridiculous 1.23. He truly was an absolute monster at this game, and when you go back through his performances over every tournament, even his average performances are just so far above what anyone should be expected to put up. And finally, we head to the bad year, the World War II year, where up until this point, their average placing as a roster had been a 2.81. Just to show the difference between that and World War II, where their average position was beyond 7th place. They really struggled here, with their best performance being a 2nd at Stage 1 playoffs. And even with that being their best performance, OpTic fans aren't going to be too fond about remembering it, because they lost 2 best of 5s in the grand finals, 2 phase in very dramatic fashion. They only won just over 60% of the maps that they played in. Compare that to the previous years, and that's a considerable drop off. Hardpoint was still their best mode, but they didn't get it beyond that 2 wins in 3 consistently period. They really just weren't as strong. Formal has another great year. He puts up some great statistics as an individual, but yeah, this year the research runs out really quickly when we consider how soon it was that they broke up as a roster after that awful awful, awful placement in Seattle. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is indeed the OpTic Dynasty story wrapped up into a neat little statistical package. And if you enjoyed this video, please do let us know and give us some feedback. We'd love to do more of these kind of things. The Dynasty series would love to be extended, but we want to know the direction that you want to take.